The Modello install guide should be studied before starting any install, as it includes important details that need to be considered. Each Modello board is 196 mm wide, so with a 4 mm spacing works out at 200 mm in width. The dimension of 200 mm is critical to the alignment of the pattern. The pattern itself is 200 mm by 200 mm, which repeats 3 times before mirroring itself at 600 mm. The boards are slightly over 3.6 meters long, with a small blank on the end that needs trimming square before laying. The boards have an X marked on one side and then 0 marked on the other. This is to assist in setting out and installing the boards, and is used to show the orientation of the boards throughout the install guide for each Modello pattern. This video is an example of pattern 11.43, page 26 in the install guide. Although it shows the contour boards being installed, all the same installation principles apply to the linear boards. On this diagram in the install guide, the important points are highlighted. At the top, it shows the pattern number, the usage including the joist centers, the deck board spacing, details about the pattern, and then an overall view of the pattern. At the bottom of the page, there is a drawing showing board pattern layout with the joists. Arrows show where the board is started on this row. Circles show when boards are rotated and the XO orientation on the board. Green lines show where string lines should be set up. For all Modello patterns, the first row should be fixed to a string line, and all the subsequent lines are measured from this row. For this pattern, we will set every 4th row to a string line, and these will become our guide rows. The string line perpendicular to the boards is to assist with pattern alignment and should be set exactly 90 degrees to the boards. Using the 3, 4, 5 principle is the perfect way to ensure everything is square. It is recommended that the deck, including any Modello sections, is drawn out first to reduce waste and make setting out and installation easier. If the Modello boards are being inset into a deck, as we have here, adjust the location of the Modello deck boards to eliminate the possibility of being left with thin strips of standard deck boards. Before installing the boards, ensure joists are 90 degrees to the Modello boards and are spaced at exactly 300 mm or 400 mm centers, depending on the pattern. The joist centers for the pattern are set out in the install guide. Cut the blanks off the ends of the board with a slight back cut of around 2 to 3 degrees. Ensure this cut removes all of the blank. Lay out the full boards to make sure the pattern is correct and as per the drawing. Move and rotate these boards until the overall pattern is correct. It is helpful to look at the direction of the pattern on the ends of the board to check the correct orientation. Leave off any edging boards until the Modello area is complete. Once all the full boards have been laid out and the pattern checked, stack all the boards between the guide rows to create space for fixing the guide rows in place. On this design, the 3 intermediate rows of boards are stacked up. Set up a string line for the first row of deck boards. It is good practice to leave a 1 mm gap between the board and string line so that there is nothing to distort the line. The start point of the first row needs to project beyond the starting point of the decking area to account for any cuts in the following rows. Liberally coat the Durafix screws in silicone spray before use. Insert the Durafix screws through the rough, dark texture on the boards to achieve the best overall result. If the butt joint is uneven, carefully run a handsaw or multi-tool along the gap to help make the gap even. Leave a 1 mm gap between butt joints. Packers may be required to create a level finish between boards. The pattern on a butt joint should mirror the pattern on the previous board. Finish laying the first row to the string line. Again, the finishing point of this row needs to finish slightly past the required finish. Now that the first guide row is installed, using the 3-4-5 principle, set up a second string line at exactly 90 degrees to the first line, at a point in the pattern that will be repeated in the following guide rows. This is to ensure that pattern is set up perfectly square to the first row. For this pattern, we are installing every fourth row of boards, therefore the second string line will be set at 800 mm from the first board run, as this is the width of 4 boards including 4 mm spacing. When installing these subsequent rows, ensure the pattern also lines through with the perpendicular string line. The 8th row of deck boards will then be installed at 1600 mm from the first run. Continue this method across the whole area. To keep the boards parallel and square, it is best to measure the guide rows from the first row where possible. Once the guide rows are all installed, the rest of the boards can be infilled. Move or rotate these boards according to the pattern. Use the multi-spacers to space the infilling boards correctly. The multi-spacers have 3, 4, 5 and 6 mm spacing on them. 4 mm board spacing is used as standard on Modello, but may need to be adjusted for board variations. Check the end butt joints are even and the pattern lines up. Move boards to create the overall pattern. Due to manufacturing tolerances on the boards, small areas of pattern discrepancies can be expected. Start from the middle of the area and work along the boards, installing with the Durafix screws. When using offcuts in the design, ensure these offcuts start at the right position. The markings on the side of the board should always mirror across a joint. Before cutting the offcut to length, make sure the first cut is halfway in between the pattern's semicircle or triangle. If it's not matching up, then the board should be cut back at the next correct pattern repeat. Always cut on the waist side of the line with a back cut, then measure to length. Please note the boards may fall out of line with each other at the ends. Use a track saw to true up the ends of the boards and create a clean line. And there you have it. Your new Modello deck. Blending beauty with versatility and creating endless possibilities in outdoor design.